as I get the cue, when you see me there, then you know I'll just like to do. Dress Michael.
Niko na vika.
Niko hapa. Aliacha hapa.
Oh, na aliniambia nimfanyie.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. We are running slightly behind schedule, but shortly we shall be in time for the memorial service. Meanwhile, we are going now to have a visual montage of Aunt Mama Shosho Jane Kiano's life in pictorial form.
Shingia hotire tiga wanjarage kanjera gatere modem meke kaga niguanyo nevega niguanyo niamano modewe wegai wekala Wahoni riengoro ya kwana honi njega Gutire kendo kiega inge hoya njage Tondore moheani waindo shio betega Nanekio goro ya kwa eyorete hinya Arataku umahi dorage idama komanye jiaro xiao xiao de jione Goro
sins of yours here in St. Francis morning. We pray that your presence be with us as we start this service. Start with us, continue with us, and end us with us. For we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
We want to join together in the hymn, Great is Thy Faithfulness.
Great
psalm this morning is found in Psalm 39, from 1 to the end. I said, I will watch my ways and keep my tongue from sin. I will put an answer on my mouth as long as the wicked are in my presence. But when I was silent and still, not even saying anything good, my anguish increased. My heart grew hot within me. And as I meditated, the fire burned. Then I spoke with my tongue. Show me, O Lord, my life's end, and the number of my days. Let me know how fleeting is my life. You have made my days a mere hardware. The span of my years is as nothing before you. Each man's life is but a breath. Man is a mere pattern as he goes to and fro. He bustles about, but only in vain. He heaps up wealth, not knowing who will get it. But no, now, Lord, what do I look for? My hope is in you. Save me from all my transgressions. And do not make me the scorn of fools. I was silent. I will not open my mouth. For you are the one who has done this. Remove your scores from me. I am overcome by the blow of your hand. You rebuke the disciplined men for their sin. You consume their wealth like a moth. Each man is but a breath. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Listen to my cry for help. Be not deaf to my weeping, for I dwell with you as all alien, a stranger as all my fathers there. Look away from me, that I may rejoice again before I depart and am no more. And this is the reading of the psalm. I request that we take our seats. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency Margaret Kenyatta, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, all dignitaries, all protocols observed, my Lord Bishop, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to St. Francis Church, Karen. I am Venerable Joyce Wanjiro Karioki, Vicar of St. Francis Church. I also want to take this opportunity to bring apologies from the Archbishop. He knows we are here. He had to travel for an assignment, and therefore he could not make it this morning. It is my prayer that indeed the Lord will bless us together. I now welcome Sammy Louis on behalf of the family to welcome us here.
Your Excellency Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces of Kenya, Your Excellency the First Lady, Mrs. Margaret Kenyatta, Dr. Joy Kiano and Wanja Kiano, Your Excellency the former First Lady, Mama Ngina Kenyatta, Your Excellency the Deputy President, Honorable William Ruto, the Honorable former Prime Minister and the African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development, Honorable Raila Odinga, distinguished guests, leaders, senior members of the government, cabinet secretaries, the chief administrative secretaries, our Lord Bishop Emeritus, Peter Njenga, the Vicar of ACK St. Francis Church, Karen, and this morning's presiding minister, Reverend Joyce Kariuki, and the clergy of this church and also from other parts. Wanachama wote wa maendeleo ya wanawake, viongozi wa tabaka mbalimbali na wananchi wenzangu hapa na kote nchini. Natumia hiyo lugha kwa sababu ya kina mama ambao walikuwa ndio kina chake ule ambaye tunamwenzi siku ya leo, wakiwa ni wanachama wa maendeleo ya wanawake. Pia viongozi wa tabaka mbalimbali na wananchi wenzangu hapa na kote nchini. On behalf of Dr. Joy and Wanja Kiano and the Planning Committee, it is a distinct privilege for me, as you've heard mentioned the name Sammy Louis, a close friend of the family, to help coordinate aspects of this morning's memorial service in coordination with Mr. Irongo Houghton over there, a nephew of our dearly departed Mrs. Jane Mumbi Kiano. And from there, I'll hand back to the vicar for the readings of the Bible. Thank you.
Thank you. We are gathered here today to pay tribute to a great woman of this republic, Mrs. Jane Kiano, Mama Joy. A little girl had lived in the village of Tumutumu 74 years ago. And that day that she was born, it was a regular day. It wasn't a big deal. After all, girl children were never celebrated those days. So it was another girl in the Guyo family. And so they continued. Without knowing that God had a divine purpose for her. Along the way, she grew up, and she grew up well in church, baptized, confirmed, and all the rites done. She became a teacher, maybe looking at it and thinking that is the end of her story. But God continued to journey with her and continued to unfold that which He had destined for her. And once, many years back, she dared to dream. And I want to believe that the dream was guided by her background. What she saw when she was growing up, women suffering, the living conditions that were so bad. And her dream was to make life better for women, empower them, and she dared to dream. Not only did she dare to dream, she dared to implement the dream. Many of us are challenged by her because we are dreamers, but dreams die with us. Today we celebrate a woman whose dream did not die with her. She emptied herself fully for the sake of this republic and for the sake of the well-being of the women of Kenya and beyond. And hence this gathering today to celebrate a life that was well lived, a life that impacted many, a life that gave hope to many women. Today we are here to celebrate our Chichana, little girl from Tumutumu, Mrs. Jane Kiano. The Lord has seen it fit to rest her. But as who are gathered here today, it is our responsibility to take the good lessons we have learned from her and continue on this
In the presence of God, and I've, what? Looking like jingles. To where there? Okay. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith.
The second reading comes from the book of John, chapter 11, verse 17 through 37. This will be a little bit of a long one. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now, Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered, I know he'll rise again, and in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, and even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she replied. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world. After she said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. The teacher is here, she said, and is asking for you. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house comforting her noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. Where have you laid him? He asked. Come and see, Lord, they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him? But some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? Thank you.
We'll now have an opportunity to watch a clip of presentation in my own words, Jane Kiano.
God creates people, and He creates you for a reason. And whatever you went through, I believe God has a reason. God is not stupid. He brought us to this world for a reason. And I know my reason for being here is to make my country better than I found it. And that is, how do I make the next person's life slightly, especially people who are not as privileged. Open your hand. Don't close your hand, because there would not be any way of being born. Have been born elsewhere, but God, let people remind to make life for other human beings, especially of the ordinary woman. Where I could have been.
And when you give in this magnificent way that you do give, what do you receive, Jane Kiano?
Blessings. When we go all over the country, there are times when we really get very tired. You have meetings, you are meeting this group here, and you literally feel totally exhausted. And you know the joy of getting two groups who are not talking, especially women, because I deal a lot with women out there. They are neighbors. One day they were laughing together, the following day they were butchering each other. That is what happened 5 years ago. They couldn't talk to each other. They were friends. They even belonged to this organization of mine. But when you go and you sit with them and you talk and you talk and you show them we should love each other, we forgive, we accept each other. And when you see they are talking to each other, they are selling each other bananas, they are selling each other tea. That is the satisfaction I get, that you have been able to bring them together.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Joy, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm Wanja's sister. You know, it's been a long time since I've heard Mom's voice, so just hearing that now was very, very special, because she lost her voice so long ago. Anyway, I have the honor of reading her story. She told me some time ago that I was want to do it. Marianne's given it to me on the wrong page. Right. I will ad-lib a little bit, so I hope you don't mind. I don't like reading and everybody's turning the page at the same time. So, 74 years ago, Mom was born to a large extended family of 16 siblings. She's actually born on 4th of April, 1944. So for a long time, we used to enjoy calling her 444. She was the third daughter to her parents, Guka Guyo and Shosho Waja. She had 16 siblings. It was really interesting trying to remember all my uncles and aunties, and everybody had double-barreled names. So there was Wajawa, Uncle Karava, there was Wajawa, Uncle Muri, of Shosho Grace. There were all these different names. Sadly, when Mom was only 2 years old, Shosho Waja died. And then she was brought up by Shosho Wago and Shosho Lydia. In her early years, they didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have the things that my children know, and I don't want to embarrass myself by calling out social media things that are probably already outdated. So nobody could imagine what she would be one day when she grew up. Nobody could imagine that one of Kenya's most publicly recognized famous citizens would come from a small place called Tomotomo, right next door to a place called Kiagoma. Mom grew up in Tomotomo, Nyeri, where she also went to school. Her friends, like Auntie Charity Mwangi, described her as playful and creative, and then made her late for school because they were playing. As she was growing up, Mom was not one to be constrained. She earned the nickname Mweruti, or Tiru, one who explores things for herself. They had this certain skill, my mother and her sisters and her friends, to speak Kikuyu sort of backwards, swapping the syllables around. It frustrated everybody. It frustrated my father, because Mom would be on the phone talking for ages, and he didn't even know if she was talking about him. You know, and she'd be there. So we've got a few examples here. Mweruti, her name, became Tiru. Nyokavi, Kavinyo. Mutumia, Moyamiti. And there it ends. We don't know the rest, the code. What is really interesting is that this streak seems to have continued in her granddaughters, my daughters Ella and Lila. Today they amuse themselves by really frustrating their mother by speaking Pig Latin, which is exactly the same thing but in English. Mom feared no one except Guka. Guka was overprotective and he was a strict disciplinarian. It took much of her creativity to escape the household and go dancing in the nearby night spots. Her love of dancing and enjoying good times goes back to those formative years. On completing secondary school, Mom, like many of her peers, trained as a school teacher at Tomotomo Training College, but she didn't enjoy teaching much. So I don't know where I got my love for teaching from. Yeah. She had more global ambitions and had her heart set on being an air hostess, in which one of those days was one of the more glamorous and interesting careers. So she followed Auntie Gladys, Nyagodie Irongo's mom, and moved to Nairobi to make her dream a reality. However, her first job was at Pan-African Hotel, where she started off as a housekeeper. Guka came to visit her there, and they had a PA system. And on the PA system, they'd call for Mom, and they'd call, Guyo, please come to this room. And he kept getting up and leaving, because he had thought it was for him. This was not enough for Mom. She wanted to go further. So she asked Auntie Gladys to introduce her to a certain fellow called Dr. Julius Gekonyo Kiano. I've heard of him. He's a fast-rising lecturer, political leader. He was with KANU. He knew all the right people, and he was getting people abroad. So Mom met Dad at an interview. She reflected that he asked her so many questions. And she was like, he's getting a bit personal. And he wanted to know where she was born, where she lived, who her father was, who's she working with, how much is she earning, is she free next Tuesday? Dad said that as he wrote down the notes about Mom, he wrote a little note at the bottom that said, this girl isn't going anywhere. So he had other designs on her, clearly. She didn't end up going to America in the airlift, though she traveled there much later on in life. Daddy finally asked her the right question, and the two of them were married in 1966. It was quite a big affair that my Guka's, one of his youngest daughters, was marrying a divorced man. It didn't stop Mom. She defied the naysayers, she stood her grounds and did it her way, making a statement by marrying him in Tomotomo. During this union, two very, very beautiful girls were born. Zwanja and Wanjiro, and we became family with Gaylord, Damari, Ernest, and Curtis. What must have it been like for this little girl from Tutumo? Bright city, lights, public figure for a husband, and a blended family. This was the beginning of her long journey into leadership. So Mom jumped headfirst into the public service and became the chairperson of Maendeleo ya Wanawake at the age of 25. Having previously been the vice chairperson, over the next 2 decades, she would transform it from an arm of the colonial government to an independent membership association for women by women. Her leadership lobbied for pro-women policies, achieved significant milestones. She assisted in the introduction of maternity leave and permanent and pensionable contracts for married women who worked in public service. Mummy was always thinking about the future, the role of the government. She called for the government to introduce school-based sex education to stop rising teenage pregnancies in the 70s and 80s. Under Mom's leadership, Maendeleo built maternity clinics, nursery schools, water projects, adult education classes, and Mabati groups all across the country. Membership to the organization was only 1 shilling per year. This way, every woman had an equal share and equal responsibility to see the organization succeed. It was this vision that led her to her greatest legacy at Maendeleo House, a multi-story office building in the Nairobi CBD. She worked very hard to get that house. She lobbied the government and she raised a lot of funding in order to get the building constructed. It was opened in 1982. Wanja and I were there. We were in the Kimbo kitchen making cake. I don't know why they trusted us with that job. We fed the president at the time. The building allowed for regional expansion of Maendeleo and was hoped to open provincial and district offices to serve women at the grassroots level. Many will remember how Mom stood tall and elegant in her traditional dresses. She adopted a national dress in order to fight tribalism and unify the country. When Mom stepped down from Maendeleo, she continued to serve the country in a multiple of capacities, including going as a member of the Kenya Women Delegation to Beijing in 1995. Our subsequent meetings, Beijing +5, the 53rd to the 58th UN Commission on the Status of Women conferences in New York. She also chaired the National Council of the Women of Kenya, was the vice president of the Commonwealth League. She was also the first African woman president of the Associated Country Women of the World. She served as a chairperson for the Kenya Literature Bureau. She was vice chair of the Nairobi City Commission, was a board member of the Family Health Foundation. She was the president of Alliance Française for over 30 years. During her tenure with Alliance Française, she opened branches in Kisumu and Eldoret and fostered even greater ties between Kenya and the French culture. For her pursuit of one Kenya, Mom's national public assignment Mom's last national public assignment was as a commissioner of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. A true servant of her people, Mom, together with my father, were strong supporters of the families in Nyeri, Sagana, and Murang'a. Many of the brothers and sisters who are here, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, lived in our home and launched their careers there. The family helped the Murang'a residents, supported Mumbi Kiano Primary School, Kianderi Girls, Dr. Kiano Boys, Waidaga Boys. In 2017, she was appointed a council member of the Council of Eminent Persons of Murang'a. Her service to Kenya and to the world was recognized in earning her Woman of the Year in 1974, C.B.S. Elder of the Burning Spear in 1979, the Golden Mercury International Award in 1982, Freedom of the City in Nairobi, there's also Jerusalem, Irongo, and the highest honor awarded by the French government, the Legion of Honor. Sadly, it was in June this year that Mom started to fall sick. The ailment was eventually traced to cancer. Thank you. With doctors and family and friends by her side, she bravely fought the disease until the very end. She had mood swings. She would be shouting instructions of 1 minute and then laughing and loving you the next minute. Despite the uncertainty and pain, she never lost her generosity, her sense of fun, and her belief that she would get better. On October 25, Mom passed peacefully away in Nairobi Hospital, surrounded by her family and her friends. On Monday, the country woke up to the news that she had rested. Mass and social media exploded with tributes and stories of her legacy. Within the next 72 hours, she was trending on Twitter. She doesn't even know what Twitter is. More than 600 people had gathered at her home, Morangi House, to pray for the family, to share personal experiences, and celebrate her life. Today, we celebrate her well-lived life in the service of her family and of her country. That little girl from Tomotomo who became a national shuja. Rest in peace, my mom. Thank you.
I now invite St. Francis Choir for our presentation.
Praise God. Praise the Lord. Amen. This is a time to celebrate the life of our sister, Jane Gikonyo, and to encourage the children and all of us, because we are all going to heaven. The song we are singing is When We All Get to Heaven, what a day of rejoicing that will be. And when we all see Jesus, we shall all shout and sing victory. In Jesus' name, we sing.
day of rejoicing that will be. When we all see Jesus, we'll sing and shout the victory.
Thank you very much. I think we need to give them another round of applause. Thank you. That special song, When We All Get Together, was under the baton of Mrs. Mathenge, and Mrs. Kanyotu introduced the choir. Mama Jane Mumbi Kiano passionately loved her family, doted on her children and grandchildren, and became a sincere companion and friend to most of us in this congregation. The way she dedicated herself to her family is a lesson to all of us. Ella Thorne, the firstborn, and Lila Thorne, the two granddaughters of our dearly departed, will now deliver the first tributes.
Dear Shosho, a few days have passed since I last saw you. Although when I saw you, you were asleep. As I was leaving, I hoped you would hear me whisper goodbye as I walked past your bed, but you were too deep asleep. The news was broken to me on Friday, 26th October 2018, that you had passed away on that night. And I cried so much, I'm super surprised the other classes didn't hear me. I was told during school. So I went home, but soon decided I couldn't stand being near your home. So I came back to school and went at break time on a trip away for 2 nights and 3 days. Although some days had passed since you passed, I still have to try and fight back tears at the thought of you or when someone mentions you. Shosho, you were still and remain as an amazing idol for some people, and remain as an auntie, mother, grandmother, and mito for others. You have done amazing things, and think about it. It was you who made maternity leaves, and it was you who made married women able to have a parchment contract, which entitled them to have a pension. Now, although my writing may be getting wonky, and not to mention my spelling, and smudges from teardrops, this doesn't stop me saying that you'll be remembered forever. Remembered for things I can't achieve because you already did, and you're beyond amazing for that. But I still really miss you, and don't feel like you've left us forever.
Shall I read for you? However, you're still in our hearts, and our love for you is a story that no matter how far we'll go, we'll still remember you. Shosho, you'll be remembered for your greatness and how you inspire all. You will be remembered for your loyalty and lovingness. We might remember you for your wonky writing like that. That won't stop us loving you. The main reason now that I've stopped crying is because I know you're in a better place, that you're now in no pain, that you didn't suffer, and that you died peacefully with people, the loved ones by your side. My auntie said something very sweet. She said that you are now dancing and singing with the angels, but I don't think that this is entirely true. I think that you're leaping and twerking and leading,
Twirling.
oh, whoops. And leading a choir with the angels. I know that although I may miss you, that you're better off where you are. You're the greatest person I have ever met. And Shosho, God bless you. Yeah? Okay. Lila is named after my mum. Let's go.
Sorry. They say that there are 7 stages of grief that most go through after suffering a loss or tragedy. And these are 1, shock, when you first hear the news and are paralyzed with shock. 2, denial, trying to avoid or disbelieve the inevitable. 3, anger, frustrated outpouring of bottled up emotion. Sometimes you can take this anger out on other people or blame yourself for stuff out of your control. 4, bargaining, negotiating with fate or making promises to God in return for the loss not to occur and for things to go back to how they were before. 5, understanding, realization of the inevitable and the first step to relief. 6, testing, seeking realistic solutions like counseling or socializing more and emerging from the grief. 7, acceptance. This may happen in a day, month, or even several years, and it's letting go of the grief and moving on. Okay. I seem to still be experiencing shock, anger, denial, and bargaining. Why? Because my shosho was amazing, and we loved her all so much. She loved us twice as much as we could ever try to, though, and that's just the way she was. For example, my shosho loved warning us about saying regular prayers for our safety, not talking to strangers that have certain tattoos on their arm, or anything else whenever she could. Family group chats on WhatsApp seemed to be the best place for her to share with us her cautions about drugged candy and fake Panadol, and things like that. She did mean well, but it was often mildly overwhelming. Another example I would like to share with you today is something that quite a few people have mentioned on Sunday, but still. My mother's house and Shosho's house face each other, so we would say hi to her in the mornings or when we came back from school. Despite living a few meters from Shosho, whenever we visited to say good morning or good night, it was like we had never seen her in weeks. We would be fed, and we would be welcomed, and everyone would be happy and surprised and stuff, and she would throw a little party, and food would be shoved down our throats. It was pretty terrifying. My beloved grandmother loved everybody, but she never took any rubbish. She knew her rights, and she fought for them. She stood her ground, made her point, and helped her people, and shared her ideas, quite loudly, with anyone who'd listen. And she could go on fighting the good fights and changing hopeless lives for eternity if she got the chance. My shosho had class, evident class. She was humble, modest, intelligent, funny, very generous, very, very generous, inspirational, caring, lovely, beautiful, and such an idol to us all. I love you so, so much, Shosho. You've made me who I am today, and I miss you like crazy. Thank you for being the person who made the difference and for loving us unconditionally. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ella and Lila. You've seen the continuation of that love and companionship. Mama Jane Mumbi Kiano alikuwa ni kiongozi mashuhuri, mpendwa wa wananchi, aliyehusudu tokea mwanzoni wa maisha yake kwa unyenyekevu hadi akashamiri kuwa nyota ya hisani, nyota ya huruma na pia nyota ya ukunjufu. Kama anavyoshuhudia sasa rafiki wake wa chanda na pete, Bi Charity Mwangi.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, Your Excellency, First Lady, Margaret Kenyatta, Your Excellency, Deputy President, Your Excellency, Mama Gena, a very special friend of Jane, distinguished guests, all protocols observed. I want to start by thanking Joy and Waja for giving me this opportunity, this honor, to speak about my childhood friend. I hope I can get through it. I have known Jane Mumbi Kiano all my life. We grew up together at Tumutumu, born the same year, a month apart. Our parents were friends, and so they encouraged us to play together and form a very, very strong friendship. There were three of us. One of them was Karogari Gedogori, then called Wagidi. Muiruti was Jane's name, and myself. And Jane liked to call us the Three Musketeers. Our pet name for Jane was Tiru. We grew up doing what young girls in those days did. We went to the river to fetch water and took a long time playing. We cooked. Sometimes we went up the Tumutumu Hill to fetch firewood. And brought it, carrying it on our backs, heavy, heavy loads. We walked to school barefoot. We didn't have shoes. We played on the way and got late. So we were beaten and punished. And Jane was one who would stand up and ask the teachers, why? Why are you punishing us now? Jane spent a lot of her early life when she was young at the little shopping center at Tumutumu called Kiamuhira. There, her dad had a shop and a hotel. And I loved going there because, of course, you would get some tea. Occasionally, when Guyo was in a good mood, we would get a soda. And that was really special. Jane was very creative because Guyo was very strict, and he wanted to know where his girls were. And so she developed tactics on how to escape. Nobody wanted to rub Guyo the wrong way, because if he caught you, then you were really in a lot of trouble. Jane loved reading from very, very early on. The stories that we read, the little stories that we read in those days were about a prince dashing and princesses and falling in love, living happily ever after in a mansion on a hill far, far away from Guyo and all the others. She was very disappointed when she didn't make it to high school because she spoke very good English. But she listened to her father and went to the Tumutumu Teacher Training College to train as a teacher. Those were the days when the training programs for women were few, so you either became a teacher or you became a nurse. And teaching was easy because the teacher training college was next door to where Jane lived. Jane loved dancing, and I know it has been said, and I'm going to say it again, and would occasionally steal away, accompanied by her brother Francis, to Nyeri, to the social hall to dance the night away, under the guise of visiting her with her sister Grace Wanyeki, who lived in Nyeri. I loved listening to these stories of her escapades because she was doing some of the things she would not dare do. Jane was the soul of any gathering, any party. Her sense of humor, as you know, was unmatched. A bit naughty sometimes. She's the one who could drop a vulgar word words we'd been told never to say, and continue the conversation as if nothing had happened. And she had a way of laughing at herself, and she also taught us to take life a little less seriously. Jean loved children, but she soon found life at Tumutum boring, and I was not surprised, therefore, when she left and quit teaching and went to join her sister Gladys Nyagodie. She returned to Tumutumu to marry Dr. Julius Kiano, like you heard from the eulogy, in a wedding that was the talk of the nation, and one that caused a lot of conflict in the very, very conservative Presbyterian church of the day. Because as you can imagine, that kind of thing had not happened before. With Dr. Kiano beside her, Jean blossomed, and her prominence started to be felt. She was selfless, gave generously, and truly uplifted the lives of her immediate and extended family. And that included most of Barea Jora and the Tumutumu crowd in general. She cared deeply for all of these people and all of us, and called us her brothers and sisters. Jean had a way of making you feel not just heard, but listened to. She seemed to understand our children better and was able to share in their fun and mischief. She was the aunt who could be relied on to see things from our children's point of view. She was open and spoke her mind while taking care not to hurt feelings, not too much. Sometimes she did. Jane was quick to compliment. She noticed what you were wearing. A new hairstyle. She made you feel good, called you sweetheart and darling, and ended her conversation with, I love you. Who does those things? Just Jean. She was elegant, always beautifully adorned, never a hair out of place. Her nails manicured to perfection to the end. Thank you, Mama Gena, for keeping her nails beautiful even when she was ailing. Jean was a perfectionist and expected those around her to understand her expectations. So you got into a lot of trouble if you didn't. But she was also clear about what should be done and did not put up with any nonsense. She was a great cook. She made the tastiest Kenyan food. Her mukimo without peas, her matoke, the best ever. But then so was her prawn cocktail. Chicken, pork, all dishes, name it. She traveled widely and she learned from the best. She loved to show off her cooking, and I'm almost certain many of you can attest to that. Jean was a mother to so many, taking time to celebrate her many children and yet paying special attention to Waja and Wajiro as they grow up. She stepped in to fill the shoes of mothers who were too busy, celebrated our children's special birthdays, and even job promotions. Jane was generous to a fault, which wasn't always good for business. I remember when she had a clothes shop on Buidibigu Street, and she would call me and tell me there was new stock that was arriving. So I would hurry to Nairobi. After I had picked what I wanted and was ready to pay, she would ask me, when did I last give you a gift? And when I protested, she would then tell me, and would not take any money. She was the same with her banana produce from the Sagana farm. Every time we went to a ladies' meeting, at the end, she would come with this car full of bananas and would dish them out to everybody as they went home. Extremely generous to all around her, including the extended family. Let us take comfort in knowing that she lived her life to the full, loved freely, served selflessly, and fully fulfilled the purpose for which she was created. She started her life as Mwiruti, one who teaches herself, and added as Mumbi, one who creates and shapes the destiny of others. And that she did remarkably well. We celebrate her. Her spirit lives on. Finally, on behalf of my dearest friend Jane, and as a mother, let me thank all those who contributed to making her life more comfortable, especially at the end. And the list is very long, so I won't mention you for fear I might leave out a name. Waja, Joy, Laila, and Ella. Thank you for looking after your mom and grandmother with so much love and affection. She rested knowing she was loved and deeply cared for. We loved her very much, but God wanted her home to rest. She fought the good fight. She finished the race. May God give her eternal rest.
Thank you very much, Auntie Charity, and not just for this tribute this morning, which beautiful as it was, but also for the solid support that you have given the family. Family and friends, allow me to introduce the next tribute, which will come from another wonderful woman, and that is Muringo Kireni. I've also often thought that there should be either a special gauge railway or a light rail between the two houses, because there was a time that they would leave each other's homes quite late at night, having enjoyed each other's company. Tata, please, let me invite you to give your tribute.
I've been told to be very brief. Your Excellency the President, Uhuru Kenyatta, Your Excellency the First Lady, Margaret Kenyatta, Your Excellency the Deputy President, Honorable Right Honorable Raila Odinga, Mama Ngina Kenyatta, ladies and gentlemen, and friends of Jane Kiano. I am privileged and honored to have been asked to say a few words about this great lady. Jane Kiano, so many things have been said about her, about what she has done for this country, what she has done for other countries, and perhaps because the story is very long, we need to put this into a book. And maybe this will be done not only by family members, but I think for all those friends who interacted with Jane. My tribute today will mainly be on the role of Jane as the wife of Julius Gikonyo Kiano, Jane as the loving mother of Joy and Wanja, and the grandmother of Ella and Laila, and many others who are not mentioned. The extended family and friendships. The list sounds tall, but I'll be very, very brief. Wife. Jane and Dr. Kiano were inseparable. They were like twins. They loved each other dearly, supporting each other in their different roles. And I believe that Dr. Kiano would not have been such a successful politician without Jane's total support, love, and commitment. The same thing would be said about Jane. She would not have been the person we are celebrating today without Dr. Kiano's support and very, very true guidance. I believe it is Dr. Kiano who taught Jane how to play politics. And she was a good student because I think she did it even better than those other good politicians we know. Dr. Kiano would tell us his story when he went to ask Jane's father, Mr. Nguyo, for her hand in marriage. He told this story with a lot of pride and satisfaction. How Jane's father asked him, "You are asking to marry my daughter who is still a child? Are you sure she will be able to cope with the kind of life which you are leading?" And Dr. Kiano answered him very confidently, "My dear Mzee father, yes, I will take care of her and I will make sure that I will nurture her to maturity. Nengodhie kuirerera." He was given permission to marry Jane. And I believe Dr. Kiano did exactly what he said to Jane's father, that he truly made Jane not only his dear wife, but a colleague in politics. Soon Jane would be seen confidently accompanying her husband, Dr. Kiano, as the wife of the cabinet minister, and also in the political arenas and other activities. We remember them together a lot. She was the source of strength to him. One incident that I will never forget about Jane's commitment to her husband was the 1987 elections. You remember the Mulolongo. Jane had just returned from England after a procedure from the hospital, which required her to have a complete bed rest and to be at home. She did obey the first 2 days. This I know because I was supposed to ensure that she followed the doctor's orders. But one morning I called on her, and to my shock, I found out that she had left early in the morning, sneaked out of the house to go to Kiharu to help her husband in campaign. I was livid. Immediately, Dr. Kiano did not know this. Immediately I called him. He himself was also very angry, and I remember him shouting to the driver and telling him, wherever you are, just go back to Nairobi. Now, this shows that even in her illness, she was still committed to helping, and to making sure that her husband was a success. Total selflessness. The loving mother of Joy and Wanja, they were her life. They grew up with a lot of love surrounding them, and they were a great pride. The two were her pride. And as they grew up, whatever she did, she said it was for her daughters and her grandparents. Even in her sickness, she was always thinking about them and saying, I cannot afford to die now, because these children, I must make sure they are more comfortable than they are. All her grandchildren have known a most loving, caring grandmother, as they have said, and they said that she was the best in the world, and truly, we agree with you, Ella and Lida. Extended family, I know Charity has touched on this. Jane believed in family unity. She would get her sisters, brothers, nieces, nephews together so often to socialize, to eat together, and to discuss any issues which were in the family. She was always concerned if there was any unresolved misunderstandings among the family members. she herself would take the initiative in calling the concerned parties together and talk things out. Those family members who are here this morning will testify to that. Her friends, Charity again has touched on her commitment to friends who are from all walks of life. She said something which I found very interesting, that with all the friends she has, each one had a file. And whenever she wanted to remember or to discuss something, she would say, I have her file. And she actually recommended to everyone, at least to us, that every friend you have, know who she is and what kind of a person she is. Very generous woman, happy to give and not to be given. I personally experienced this unusual and admirable trait of self-sacrifice when in 2006, I had back surgery done in London. I was to stay there for 2 months, and you know, staying there in London for 2 months, you need someone to look after you. As I was planning a roster for my carers, who would come which week, who would come which day, Jane just came forward and said, I will stay with you. And she did look after me. She left her home, her businesses, to do just that. What a dear and costly sacrifice she made. How can one pay such a person or such a favor? I'm not sure. But I know that she must have got some unasked blessings here on earth for her great compassion. But the greater reward which she's getting now, she is enjoying it in heaven. I know friends will miss Jane in so many things which she did for them in her life without expecting anything. When we acknowledge her as a visionary leader, courageous, daring, generous, hardworking. When her husband died, Jane did not just sit and feel sorry for herself. She conceived an idea which came to a reality. This time I'm not talking about Maendeleo House. I'm talking about her unique development on her land, which we all know known as Forest Edge Gardens. Beautiful homes, something to admire and something to truly remember her for. Her children, her grandchildren will always see that development and remember what a wonderful grandmother we had. So when we talk about what Jane has done for the country and so on, I think she believed first in that charity begins at home. And she has demonstrated this with such excellence and determination for us all to witness. We shall miss Jane. What can we say except to thank the Almighty God for giving us this rare and a very special person whose life we are celebrating today. To Joy, Wanja, Ella, Laila, and many other grandchildren who have not been mentioned here. Family members, we pray that you have learned a great deal from mother, sister, aunt, cousin, grandmother, as we all have learned. And this is a real legacy. We promise to keep you in our thoughts and prayers as you travel along this very challenging journey. I believe all of us have learned in so many ways from this great woman, Jane. Her legacy, I believe, continues. Our prayer is that God will give Jane joy, will give joy, Wanja, Ella, and Leila, and indeed the entire family, peace, strength, comfort, and healing during this trying period. If it is of any comfort, we want you to know that we stand by you in support, love, and prayer. May Jane's soul rest in eternal peace. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Muringo Kireni. As I invite the Lulus, the Cairo girls, the Pioneer ladies, and if there are any daffodils here of the flower variety, to come up. Welcome. There is a special tribute, if I can just quickly go through this as the ladies come up, from another wonderful woman who is based in a place called Ithaka, which is not in Kiambu, it is somewhere New York, upstate. National poet and cancer warrior Mishere Gedai Mugo wrote a poem for Auntie Jane. We don't have time to read the full poem, but let me just read one line from that poem. She writes, "Cancer may rob us of our loved ones, but not our love of life. For human beings will always triumph against ogres. 30,000 people die of cancer every year. 44,000 people contract this deadly disease. The question I think we can ask ourselves is, what do we need to do? And if I can quote Reverend Phyllis Bird, who will get this job done? Ladies, I believe you are all friends and investors in the various chamas that you are in. I've never seen a financial statement, but the one thing I can vouch for is that you are all dear friends, and this is your turn to pay your tribute.
person of diverse qualities and achievements. She was an amazing people's person, a true icon of Kenya, and leader par excellence, who stood firm in her conviction. She was also a member of the special group, Eminent Persons of Murang'a. And I would like now to have the representative person who is going to be speaking on behalf of those elders of Murang'a. I believe Mr. Peter, Dr. Peter. Yeah, or Dr. Bishop Dr. Gideon Githiga. Thank you. And I will ask, please, to be absolutely brief. Thank you.
Your Excellency, our President Uhuru Kenyatta, Her Excellency Margaret Kenyatta, His Excellency our Deputy President, our former Prime Minister, the members of the Kiano family, the clergy behind me. Today I decided to go on the other side, and all of you who have come to condole with this family, and also to say something that concerns our dear sister who had just left us. My name is Bishop Gideon Githiga. I'm the retired Bishop of the ACK Diocese of Thika, but I come from Murang'a, born in Kangema, Kanyanyaine location where Dr. Kiano comes from, and also from the former Kiharu and Biri constituency. I have come here just to say a few words representing the Council of Eminent Persons of Murang'a Council, whose chairman is Honorable Charles Rubia, who has sent her apology, but we have quite a few of the members. If you don't mind, I can ask them just to stand up and just wave. We have Dr. Peter Munga, we have Dr. Nyamo Njoka, we have Muthoni Likimani, and I don't know whether anybody else has arrived. And then we have Joe Kibe on the other side. We had special seats there, but you came late. I want to say something very briefly. First of all, as a friend, I want to bring my own condolences on behalf of myself and my family to the family of Jane Kiano, and also the condolences of the Council of the Eminent Person of Murang'a County who are with us, and some of them who are not here. On my behalf, I would like to say I was brought up knowing Dr. Kiano and Jane as a young person in primary school. Every boy child wanted to be like Dr. Kiano, because Dr. Kiano was the first African to attain a PhD in Kenya, in East Africa and Central Africa in general. So every growing boy wanted to be, one time, to be like Dr. Kiano. And because of this euphoria, Murang'a used to do very well in education, because every boy wanted to be like Dr. Gikonyo Kiano. Now, many people did not understand what a doctor means, because they thought he's working in a hospital, and they had not seen him. And he had a very vivid way of explaining the difference between a PhD and the doctor in the hospital. And he said in Kikuyu, ti dagitari aria mohaga iroda thibitari. It's not the doctors who bandage people in the hospital, but it is a doctor one receives when you get the highest level of education. And Jenny herself could not miss humor on this qualification. And one time in casual discussion, Jane asked you have a doctorate? Yes. Where did you get it? I told her I got it from one of the British universities, and I did it for 5 years. And why do we have so many people with the doctors these days? And I said, some of them are honorary doctors given to people who have done exemplary work. And she said to me, jokingly, I would not like to get an honorary doctorate. Because when I go and meet the daktari, and I'll be called a doctor, the first question is, for how long did you do your doctorate? I did mine for 8 years, and she jokingly said, I fear to be called a doctor. I don't want to be called my husband because I never went to the university. Now, Jane has been a very active member of the Council of Eminent Persons. She contributed a lot on the issue of peace building. She never missed our meetings unless she was sick. And so the council is greatly going to miss her contribution. But then her legacy will still remain, because even in an empty seat, we'll be asking ourselves, if Jane was here, what would she have said on this? And so even though he has physically left us, his legacy is still left with us. Jane made our meetings warm, sometimes cracking humor. The members of the council, as you have seen, they are mainly retired people, but with immense experience and understanding of things that happened long ago. And because Jane was asking us questions, one time I asked her, Jane, what was the starting salary of your husband when she went to Parliament? And she said he got 800 shillings per month, and we never got a car allowance. So we had given ourselves to serve the society. And that is what the word minister means. The people who call themselves ministers, this has been followed from the church pastors. They are the people who are called ministers because with or without a salary, they will still do their work. So this was the type of people who nurtured us when we were young, and we are what we are because of them. So here we have come now to encourage her family who have been left. We all have lost Jane, but the people who have lost Jane immensely is Wanja, Wanjiro, and the grandchildren who used to see her every time they go to the house. We want to encourage you. We will continue praying for you. This will be emphasized by Bishop Jenga as he preaches to us. And when she was in her sick bed, a few of us, we sit by her bed. She tried to talk more than we were talking, but we made her to listen to us. And I remember, because I was the pastor, I encouraged her with the words of Isaiah 55, verse 8, I'm not preaching, which says, my ways are not your ways. Nor your thought, my thought, your thought. As the heavens are far above the earth, so does my ways and my thoughts. And so when we have we don't have answers to the question, we need to ask ourselves, when Jane has gone too soon, because her classmate who was talked here still looks so strong, the members of the family may be asking themselves, why we? Why our mother? Why our grandmother? And we want to encourage you with those words. God has his own way of doing things, and he never makes a mistake. So on behalf of the Council of the Eminent Person, we want to wish you peace, the peace that passes all human understanding, be with you and remain with you. Amen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chair Gedega. I now have the honor of inviting the Honorable former Prime Minister and the African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development, the Honorable Raila Odinga, to also pay his respects.
The family of Jane and Dr. Julius Gikonyo Kiano, Your Excellency the President, the First Lady, the Deputy President, Mama Ngina, the clergy, distinguished guests, fellow mourners, Bwana Sifiwe. God is good, and all the time, I have been asked by the family to say a few words as a friend of the family. I was very worried when Jane passed away. I was out of the country. And then she had already been interred, and I was wondering I was not going to have an opportunity to say something. Then when I came back, this service was arranged. So I'm very glad to be here. And I stand here as a friend of the family. A lot has already been said about Jane, and I don't want to bore this audience by repeating. I just want to say that I also associate myself with the sentiments which have been said about her. She is a family friend, as Ida said when I was not here, and also my friend. She and me, we call each other the shadows in this place. You are in Langata. She's my shadow member of parliament for Langata. So she will tell people that when Raila is out of the country, I'm the one who's in charge. So there's no vacuum in Langata. And we have been like that for a long time. And whenever there was an election in Langata, after the conclusion, she would always insist we have some ceremony. And we'd either go to the carnival or to the current Blixen down here and have our feast and compare notes. And she would tell me some of the other things which are going on, the rumors in the constituency. So we are truly friends. And she's a great person, very generous, very focused, and very simple and easygoing. And but she has made a tremendous contribution to advancement of women in this country. As you've seen, as has already been said, she was selfless, but she was very dedicated to the cause of advancing the women in our country. You see the Mendeleo House out there in the center of the town. That is the product of our work. And it's not a mean feat by any standards. So she's done a lot of things. There are a number of other women who have also made a contribution in our country. And sometimes we don't recognize them. I think we really need to celebrate the role which women have played in our country. From the days of the struggle for independence to the post-independence era, so that we give them the kind of recognition that they truly deserve. I was very happy recently when we had a function at the State House, when the president recognized some of our women. But I think we need to do more than that. Last night, those of you who watch SABC, South African television, would have seen they were paying tribute to Albertina Sisulu, the wife of late Dr. Sisulu, who was with Mandela in Robben Island. And they were highlighting the role that she played in the liberation of South Africa. And the best tribute was made by Archbishop Desmond Tutu when he was recognizing the role that Albertina played. And they singled that out. There will be another day, they will be celebrating another woman. The women who have done many things in the fields of academia, in the fields of sport, and in the fields of the social welfare, which need to be recognized by us as a people generally. And I'm saying that time will come one day that this will be done. Now, Jane had a simple background, beginning. And then she met Julius Gikonyo, who had also a simple background, but then studied and went all the way to Stanford University. When I was in Harvard in sabbatical, and I was reading the work of Julius Gikonyo Kiano and Mungai Njoroge when they were studying at Stanford University in the 50s, the petition that they were writing to the United Nations about the struggle in Kenya and how the freedom fighters should be released, it is tremendous. And they also presented another petition, not about Kenya, but about a land which had been taken by people called Mamerus around Arusha in Tanzania. So these were true, really nationalists. But simple background. Gikonyo Kiano, a son of a peasant. Jane, a son of a chief, a daughter of a chief, and come and made it. Now you can now not say that Wanja and Wanjiru here are coming from a dynasty. There's no dynasty. There's no dynasty. Because those people just struggle on their own. Jomo Kenyatta, the son of a pauper, he struggled, was detained by colonialists for all those years. You cannot say there's a Kenyatta dynasty, that because of that Uhuru is a part of a dynasty. Odinga, son of Raila, was just another pauper. You could say he was a hustler. No, you cannot say therefore that Raila is a product of a dynasty. Raila is just Raila the way he is. Uhuru is Uhuru because of himself. Nobody has elected Uhuru because he's son of Kenyatta. Nobody votes for Raila Odinga because he's son of Oginga Odinga. Because of Raila. This is what it is. May the Lord rest Jane's soul in eternal peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sasa ni fursa yangu kumkaribisha kwa unyenyekevu naibu wa rais Mheshimiwa William Ruto atoe wasifa wake na pia aweze kumkaribisha Mheshimiwa rais wetu. Karibu Mheshimiwa.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, agent of both girl and women empowerment and a great Kenyan patriot. We celebrate the life of Jane Kiano because he leaves behind a rich legacy. She built the biggest ever women organization in Kenya. At the heart of the city of Nairobi is the imposing Maendeleo ya Wanawake House. And she leaves behind many women leaders that she mentored and inspired. So we truly have something to celebrate about what Jane Kiano, her contribution to our nation. And to the family, you should know that Jane was your mother and grandmother, but she belonged to all of us because of what she did for Kenya. And I knew Jane as the chair of Maendeleo as far as I can think. And I remember a very special incident in 2013, and I was telling His Excellency the President the other day. She gave us her house when we were waiting for the results in 2013. We stayed in her house for almost 7 days. And she fed us, and she gave us free access in her compound. And it was just special because she surrendered her house to us. And we owe her. She is indeed a great woman. And when I say she's a great woman, as I read the eulogy, she was a very gracious and elegant lady. And I wouldn't blame Dr. Kiano for the results of the interview. Because I was trying to imagine myself if I was the one conducting that interview. I am not sure the results would be any different because of who Jane was. And again, I want to thank family for standing with your mother and grandmother and her friends that were referred to the elegant women, gracious women who came here to sing. Congratulations for standing.
until they pass on. And we come and say, what a wonderful person, so and so on. We need to celebrate them when they're alive. We need to show them that we appreciate what they have done. And I promise you that as we've started now with our Trailblazer program, we will push it and enhance it and make a day where Kenyans remember
we realize, even as we come to say farewell to our friend Jenny, the humanness of humanity. That we are truly human, and that in that humanity, there are two sides of it. That one day, everything we know and perceive and understand and see and recognize will have come to a total end. But that is not all. That there is a hope for tomorrow when other things will begin to unveil. And we ourselves, each one of us, will begin to realize the events of life. And if you are like me, who believe that one day we will be in front of the throne of God, our Heavenly Father, and like some of you have heard me say, I pray that when I get there, if He will give me time, I'll ask a few questions. I'll definitely ask Him, and ask Him the whys. I don't know whether the answers He will give me will be of any value to me, because I will have departed from this human nature. But I'll definitely ask Him a few questions. That is, if He allows me. But I want to take you through one or two things which are, as the psalmist said in Psalm 39 that was read to us. And he said these words, "Hear my prayer, O Lord. Listen to my cry for help. Be not deaf to my weeping, for I dwell with you as an alien, a stranger, as all my fathers were. Look away from me, that I may rejoice again, before I depart, and am no more." One of the great things that happen to human nature is that we are given the chance to live. And we live only once, then other things. And when we are in this life, humanness and human nature teaches us that we must be conscious of our emptiness and nothingness. Nothingness which tells me the things I would want to do and the ability God has given me to do them and the influence He has allowed me to go about living alone, Heavenly Father. This is one of the things that the church and the preachers teach all our lives. We never know whether it falls on deaf ears, whether men and women will hear us when we cry, when we tell them that in this life we should live closer to God our Father in heaven and allow Him to speak, to instruct, to teach, to mold, and to guide us so that we do not live like fools. Simply because without Him and His influence, you really know nothing. You really have nothing. You really can do nothing. And that nothingness is the one perhaps where science always differs with the religion. Because sometimes science is given into unveiling and researching on the depths of the secrets of this earth and heaven and the creation as a whole. that we have people like this. And it is gratifying to hear you, Your Excellency, affirm that we will remember our heroes who have done mighty things in spite of the limitations of human nature. For I am a firm believer that a nation that does not recognize, honor, and respect its heroes, that nation is doomed to fall. So we join you, Your Excellency, in saying that in a small way, let us appreciate and remember those who have gone before us, those who lived among us, those who did mighty things while still with us, in spite of that limitation. Yet they do more for the faith they have that tomorrow I'll be in front of my Father in heaven, and when I raise questions, as I told you I will, then I'm conversing with my Father in heaven as a child looking upon its Father and saying, Baba, I know I was this. Tell me why. And number two, I want to urge you, each and every one of you, to cry to God for help. Not because you are in need, but because of those limitations that I've talked about. Are you clever? Your cleverness will win little. Are you rich? Your riches will yield little. Are you beautiful and handsome? Your beauty and handsomeness really will achieve nothing. For we have to learn to be dependent on our Father who is in heaven, who knows all. And so, it is good sometimes to spend your time and tell God, are you there, my God? Can you hear me? You know, I tell people that in my profession, I am expected to be a prayerful person, but I know I'm not. Because sometimes I try to pray to my Father in heaven on issues that perturb and disturb me. And what do I hear? I hear them hitting the ceiling, coming back to me with no answer. Because you cannot compel God to answer you. You may say what you want. You may ask what you want. You may perceive what you want. You may crave for anything. But you're not going to compel God to hear and answer you. If he chose to answer you, well and good. If he chooses not to answer you, well and good. Go do your duty, what you are expected to do. Achieve that what you are expected to achieve. Do that which, humanly speaking, you have been asked to do. And you see why we fail? Because sometimes we want to do things, not because there is somebody up in heaven who is looking at me and my achievements and the expectations thereof, but because I want to influence people and to make them love me. And you know, friends, sometimes you do things and you think you're pleasing people, but absolutely nothing. I have learned that as a preacher. We preach, we teach, we instruct, and at the end there at the West Door, normally people will tell you, oh, well done, Pastor, you know you have taught us many things. Oh, you know I am blessed. Oh, you know you taught me this. And sometimes they mean little or nothing. So if you really undertake know how many of you really do pray when issues come. There are people who face issues from the might, from the expectation of the knowledge and understanding they have, from the experience they have acquired, from all the support they have, rather than place it squarely on your Father in heaven and tell him, I am human. And let him decide. For truly God is God. And I am human. So I plead with you to pray. And particularly you, Joy and Sisulu, because I cannot understand how this young girl is going to behave, because I think her life was ruined and always around the mom. Now she's gone. We don't know how she's going to behave. We don't know about her tomorrow. I don't know. I can never predict. But you know, as a community, we can place her in the hands of our Father in heaven and tell her, look at this child who knew nothing but mom. And God, please do what you can with her, for her, enable her, dichotomize her from mom who has departed, and set her free on her own. And once you do that and you leave her there, she's comfortably there, and God will do what is expected of him, because he is a God who does everything and not a man or a human. And number 3, the psalmist here said, be not deaf to my weeping, for I dwell with you as an alien. You know, I remember a friend of mine, he was an old musician. And one time, I traveled with him and we went to many places. One day I was asked to pray, and as normally as I try to do, I prayed long prayers. And finally, when I finished, he said to me, Jenka, why don't you give others a chance? You occupy God all alone. Give others a chance that God can hear them. You're not the only one. And you know, there's a lot of sense in that. That once you commit what you know, what you want, what you are asking God to do, leave it there comfortably. Open the door for others. Let them have their prayers in. But if you are like me and the group here, when we pray, we occupy God throughout 24/7. As though he has no business with other people. But we plead with God. And you do the same. God, please not be deaf to my prayers, to my weeping, to my cry. When I last saw Jamie, just a few days before actually she died, and she told me in her bedroom, she said, Provost, I am tired and I want to go home. I kept on saying, no, Jamie, you should not say, but she kept on telling me, I'm tired, I want to go home. And I thought she made a prayer, remarkable prayer. She told me about Ezekiel, and we discussed about it for a long time. And I kept on reminding her of this man Ezekiel, who once cried to God and said, when he was told, you are not going to die, this is the end. And you remember what Ezekiel said, God, my Father in heaven, is there nothing good that I've ever done that can make you reverse what you are saying now? And let me live. And surely God answered that prayer and said, oh, I've had you. I've increased you 15 years. I'm not predicting that you'll be out at 15 years. But sometimes it's good to tell God, this is my cry. When you're in a problem, tell him, this is my problem. It is unsolvable or impossible. As a friend, right on my We bring the children to you now. We feel the loss, as indeed they do. They loved Jenny, their mom, their Sisulu. Now you have taken Jenny to yourself. Take these children, control their lives, walk with them, guide them in every aspect, make them your own, transform them into great assets in your kingdom, and assure them of your love. Father, many people have cried to you for these children. We add our prayers to the communion of saints who have pleaded with you. God, our Father in heaven, give them your peace. Guide and lead them. May they live as your children forever. In the name of God, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And again, amen. All right? God bless you.
It's time for us to give our offerings to God. As we are seated, there's somebody who's going to pray our day as the ushers wait on us. Please, ushers.
God is good. Thanks. God is good all the time. Wow. I will play You Raise Me Up by Josh Groban. It's a song that really consoles me in tough times. I hope it consoles you too.
Sasa rafiki mkubwa wa karibu wa jamaa za marehemu Bwana Hari Mugo atazungumza sasa akitoa shukrani zao Dr. Joy Kiano na Wanja Kiano kwa niaba yao. Karibu.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency, the First Lady, Margaret, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Your Excellency, the past Prime Minister, and all the other dignitaries here present, I stand here honored and privileged, having been asked by Wanja and Joy to be able to give thanks to all of you who have today been able to come to attend our mom's farewell and celebration at the same time. A lot of you who probably don't know will appreciate if I say that one of the things that I've done in that family for the last 20 years or more is shared around the fireplace with the late Dr. Kiano, few words of wisdom. And I've never gotten tired. I used to leave that house sometimes at 4 o'clock in the morning, going to my house. And my wife would wonder, she's there, where have you come from? I would say, well, I've just come from my dad's house. And we were talking. What were we talking about that tower? And it continued until the late Jane Kiano did the same thing. So today, I just want to share one little thing that she said to me when she was in and out of hospital. She shared with me a story about the footsteps on the sand. And she told me, because she used to call me daddy, son, jokingly like that, when I am gone, share this story with the people who will be there. And I've not shared it with anybody. I'm sharing it today. She said that when I'm in hospital, I only see one footstep on the sand. Whenever I'm in my house, I see 2 footsteps on the sand. But I want to encourage you that you should only be able to see 1 footstep in the sand. Why? Because when the person asked, why do you see 2 and not 1? The answer was, when you see 1 footstep, God was carrying you on his shoulders fully. So what she was requesting, let God carry our shoulders. Let God carry all of us on his shoulders instead of us walking individually to our destinies and to our problems. So this morning, this afternoon, we just want to give thanks to the Almighty God for having given us Mama Jane for the 74 years. It is actually impossible to thank everyone individually. So collectively, on behalf of the family, I just want to say thank you very, very much for whatever role you have played in making our mom's life more comfortable. But in particular, I've been asked to say the following. The first one goes to the office of the president for having supported this family in and out. Your Excellency, Mr. President, the family wishes to pay special tribute and thank you to you personally and your family for the support that you've given. I've also been asked to say, Mama Gina, Her Excellency Mama Gina Kenyatta, the role you played as a person and a friend to the late Jane Kiano will never be forgotten by this family. So they want you to accept that special thanks on that. The office of the Deputy President, they also want to say thank you very much indeed for the time and the effort that you played in making them more comfortable. Aida Odinga, and I can see my good friend Raila here. Thank you very much also for the support that you've given them. To all of you who in one way or the other touch this family, I've been asked to mention several names, and it would be unfair for me if I don't do it, because herewith, I'm just a messenger. I know I've been asked to be brief. So they have divided the people to thank in several ways. The family. In the family, they have the following names mentioned: Githu and Margaret Muigai and their family, Waithira Gikonyo, Martha Wanyeki and her family, Gathoni Mungai, Mushoi Gikonyo and family, Mwangi Githahu, Nyawera, Nyagaki, Joe, and Wajiye Githunguri. The family, immediately. And then there was a special mention to the medical team. And I've been asked to mention the following: Professor Mark Josh, a doctor, Dr. Gladwell Kiarie, Dr. Mohindi Wanjogu, and Dr. Dirangu Irungu. Not forget Dennis and Matilda, who are the part of the physio team that attended to Mom. Her devoted nurses, Ella, Winnie, and Abby, nurses of the South Wing of Nairobi Hospital, the Chemo Center, admissions, and the critical unit, all who played their parts to their best. To friends, Miriam Chege, you are here. Dear Mwangi and family, you are here. You've been there for them. Bishop and Mama Duta Jenga, Deborah Okeo, Violet Wasuna, Gishuhe and family, Wanjiro Kimani, Jane Waikenda and family, Joy Kariuki, Ann Naisho, Jane Kirago, Mire Gari and family, Pius Jelimo and family. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. I don't have to read all of them. But the ones that I've not mentioned, please feel that you've been recognized by the family. Then there are those special people. And I see Kamau here, who was in that house for 44 years as a chef. Kamau has seen Wanja and Joy grow. You've seen Kamau from the time he was younger than he is now to what he is today. I believe there are also people like the driver. Katimu, where is he? Katimu is around also. Yes, Katimu is around. There was the chef, Sam Jedwa. He's around also, I can see. Yes, Sam. And there was the person that used to manicure those gardens. John Buru, where are you? Yes, John Buru is around there. These are people who are very, very close to Mom in the house. And Wanja and Joy would like to make a special mention and a special recognition to all of you for the job well done up to the last day. Thank you very much. Now, Joy and Wanja would like also to give special thanks to the providers, service providers, and we have them first-class concierge, the concierge that took the body for cremation, the Riera schools for providing transport, Coca-Cola for the refreshments, Mawingu, Mrs. Wahome, Parapet Cleaning Services, Safari Park, and Mrs. Joroge, not to mention all but a few. Ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, the planning committee, which has made this day possible. I want to give very special thanks to you all. Led by by Rongo Houghton. I believe you had a committee which was organizing this event, and I think they have done a good job from the time Mom rested to the present day where we are seeing today. Thank you very much. Thank you. What can I say to all of you who came? May God bless you, and to God be the glory. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonamugo. There are also a few people that flew in. Some of them arriving yesterday and some of them this morning. Would also wish to extend a special word of thanks for your coming. Tunawashukuru sana nyinyi nyote na kuwapa asante kwa kujiunga na Dr. Joy Kiano na Wanja Kiano wakati tunapotoa heshima zetu za mwisho kwa mpendwa Bi Jane Mumbi Kiano. Kongole hasa kwako kasisi msimamizi wa kanisa hili la ACK St. Francis Karen, Reverend Joyce Kariuki, na makasisi wako, pamoja pia na makasisi wenzako wote kwa ushirikiano wenu na usaidizi, pamoja pia na askofu mstaafu Peter Njenga, kutokana hasa na mahubiri yako maalum uliyoyatoa ya kusisimua. And now as we leave the church, we will have Dr. Joy Kiano, Wanja Kiano, Ella Thorne, and Lila Thorne lead the procession at the central aisle, followed by His Excellency the President and his entourage, then the clergy, followed by Bishop Emeritus Peter Njenga. For the rest of us, I would request that please try and use the side doors, and if you have the patience, follow the procession once it has left. Thank you very much.
We have come to the end of our service. I request Bishop Jenga to give us the benediction.
Joy and Wanja and the grandchildren just stand here. Shall we stand? And now, you Joy and your children, Wanja, and all the family, all you mourners, and to God's gracious mercy and protection, we now commit you. May the Lord be merciful to you and give you his grace. As you go out into the world in peace, be brave, keep hold to what is good, never pay back wrong for wrong, encourage the weak and the faint-hearted. Be good to every person. Live as children of God and always look up into heaven where your strength comes from, and always be dependent on our Father who is in heaven. And may the blessings of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be with each one of you, remain with you, be with you, walk with you, and guide you today